More people joining. General Fogarty's session just finished. Part of that session was creation of a new civilian workforce initiative. So there's a new workforce initiative out there for the government civilians that's in play, effective now. Mr. Ron Pontius will run that program. Okay, again, I'm Mike Warlick from AFCEA, and thank you all for being here this week. Today's been just a tremendous day from General Funk on. Fogarty, some of you just came in that were up there, heard a very tremendous presentation about movement to an information operations organization that's may come to pass here very shortly. And if so, that has another ripple effect in what's the whole evolution of cyber and what's taking place at the cyber COE in general at Fort Gordon. Now, this afternoon we have a very special opportunity with this team that's on the stage today. I'll just introduce them by name, just a little bit of an overview, and we'll let them tell their story, and I'm sure a few more people will show up here in a few minutes. So the title of this is Battalion Enhanced Update. The ESB-E update. Colonel Matt Falk, U.S. Army Commander, 35th Signal Brigade. Colonel Shane Taylor, Program Manager, Tactical Networks, PEO C3T. And Lieutenant Colonel Ron Lantonio, U.S. Army Commander, 50th Expeditionary Signal Battalion. Is that what we have? We have all three here. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. They're going to talk to you today about this capability, what's been going on with it, and maybe what they need from you to help them be successful. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and get us started. Again, I'm Colonel Shane Taylor. I'm the PM for Tactical Network out of PEO C3T in APG, Maryland. And Matt and Ron and I are going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with the Expeditionary Signal Battalion Enhanced Pilot, as was just introduced. And really what we want to do is walk you through, one, why we felt the need to do this, what the Army hopes to gain from the effort, and then maybe some of the next steps, some of the lessons learned, and then some of the next steps in the near future as far as how we want to get after this. And we're going to tag team this, so we're going to do one of those things that Cast Cube taught you not to do. We're going to bounce around between briefers as we go through slides, and then we'll leave it at the end for a few minutes to answer some questions. Okay?
So I'm Colonel Matt Folk. Just took over 35th Signal Brigade about 40 days ago. I've watched this prototype from afar for about a year. But what I wanted to kind of go over was why we're here today. And we're here because the signal force structure is not going to meet the current signal force structure is not going to meet what the Army expects us to deliver in the future. I think a few years back, they instituted three pilots. One was the Division Signal Battalion, the other was Enhanced G6, S6, and then a JCSE-like unit that can provide that capability. The Chief Staff, when it went to the Chief, he decided to go with the JCSE-like element, and 50th was chosen to be that element to help evolve the network for the future. So what Ron and his team has done for almost the last year has really enhanced our mobility, scalability of our signal assets. Especially within the 50th Signal Battalion. Now I will tell you a personal vignette, and I see a couple of folks here that were with me on that trip. I took over as the G6 of the 101st in June of 2016 or 14. I'm sorry, and within 90 days I was sitting in the west coast of Liberia, and there's some people here that were with me. If you've never been to West Africa, they're not as obviously not a first world country. So we had one airport and we had a port, but it was going to take about 3 weeks to get equipment there. So we need everything that we brought in by air. And it took quite a bit of time for me. Now JCSC did the initial entry for us, but then we transitioned over to our Army network. But I could not provide that capability to the division commander because our equipment was not scalable. And so I think the most important thing coming out of the 50th prototype is the scalability. You can go from essentially a 4-man team up to a JTF headquarters or even a field army. Right now we can't, in the current force structure we can't do that. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Ron to run through some of the capabilities of the ESB-E.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, just to follow up from the point that Colonel Falk made. So the 50th was the battalion that was providing support for that mission that he highlighted a few years ago, where they couldn't get the assets in quick enough. Same AOR yesterday in Africa. We had a comms outage yesterday. Today, in about 30 minutes, a 50th soldier is on an aircraft with the replacement kit, and they were able to swing an asset across to that location to get them some interim comms. So real dramatic difference is what this capability has given us. Some of the material solutions, so all the things that Colonel Falk and Colonel Taylor highlighted, it's more scalable, quicker, faster, lighter. Essentially for the prototype, each of our 3 companies was fielded a different baseband and some variability on antennas as well. So what Alpha Company got for baseband is different from Bravo, is different than Charlie. Same thing in terms of the antenna. And then as we went forward, since it's been a staggered start with Bravo Company being first through the chute in the get some rapid feedback through the PM and the Cyber Center and Forcecom to make some iterative changes in stride. So what the battalion looked like in October in terms of fielding is different than what it looks like today, and presumably as it goes forward it'll change as well. It talks across the bottom about special features. I would tell you, and Colonel Taylor will highlight this a little bit further, the flexibility that gives us is absolutely incredible. Every kit's tri-band, every kit is able to be changed out fairly quickly with minimal forward sustainment tail. And then we're also able to implement and integrate a lot of different types of cellular and commercial capabilities that have really saved our bacon a number of times. So those are some of the general prototype capabilities. Colonel Taylor will get a little bit more in depth with each of the different variants in terms of size.
Okay, thanks, Ron. So a couple things I just want to highlight on this chart, and the intent here is not to get into specifics, but really kind of walk you through some of the characteristics that we were looking for, across kit. So as Ron said, most of our decisions were driven by the mobility of the kit, the expeditionary nature, the scalability of it, and then we also are trying to move towards more of instead of a single solution across echelon, more of a family of kit. So in other words, as you look, you'll see various sizes for terminals and numbers that we did provide. Those are more for the size of user supported, right? But part of the decisions as we go forward are not only what kit that we're going to look at, but the numbers of each across formations. That's one of the decisions that need to be made. Ron touched on COTS, right? So we wanted to go COTS heavy. What I've been telling my team, and like Matt, I've only been in the chair for about a month, but what I've really tried to stress is based off near peer, based off of a lot of the stuff that as we pivoted away from how we previously fought, we absolutely have to be able to inject our comparative advantage at this point really is going to be about injecting capability, because our near peer have the same kind of technologies, but where we have the advantage is our ability to quickly, or we need to have our advantage, is our ability to quickly integrate that new kit, and more importantly, quickly train and get it out into the hands of soldiers. So COTS is one of the ways that we can get after that. And the other part of this is, and Ron touched on it, is we want that continuous feedback. So we're heavy on the excursions, we're heavy on the any exercises that we can get into. We want to get the new kit in there. We want to iterate it, get the feedback from the soldiers using it, and continue to improve as we go. So the days of supporting a piece of kit for 20 years, and especially in our environment, those are going away, and it's going to be about continuously rotating and gaining advantages of that new technology as it comes forward. The only other thing that I would add about this is you'll see some of the variety of kit that we have below the blue line or green line there. One of the things is I want to make sure that folks are touching on is that there is also, while I work a lot of the SATCOM side, we also have some non-SATCOM capabilities that are line of sight and beyond line of sight, and that's really to get after going forward is thickening that network. So when we talk about network resiliency, we're also talking about redundancy, thickening of the network to give us alternate paths. And then and to roll it all up, so as you look at kind of what we're trying to get after as far as validation, really as we deliver these COT solutions into the formations, how do we get after that training quickly? It comes with user manuals and things like that, but how we integrate that into the formation is important. So a lot of these efforts that the 50th is supporting is really helping us with improving the speed of how we can get after that foundational training, as well as just, I know the Signal Corps in general is going after some MOS and FDU design kind of discussions, and it's shaping some of those. Then for me personally, as the PM of Tactical Network, it definitely gets after helping me down the road with what we view as NetOps solutions, both at the lower and the upper TI, and how we converge those. All right, I will turn it over back to you to talk lessons learned.
Right, sir. So I'm going to break script a bit with this chart. We've got some of the soldiers. We brought some of the soldiers from 50th that ran some of these operations. So what we really have over the past 8 or 9 months is operational user employment in 14 countries across every COCOM. We've hit every teleport in RHN, and we're circling the bases in a couple of places. Largely, that's thanks to the teamwork across through our brigade, Wire Center, the PEO, and of course up through TRADOC. It's created a lot of different types of unique opportunities which are nested with what we have to do with the GRF. This first mission to the top left, that is really the big takeaway there is twofold. Number of reps has mattered a lot. Roving Sands was the third exercise we did with 108th 80A Brigade units, and the feedback was absolutely incredible. So this is what the battalion commander said, and he prefaced with, "Please share this with 200 people in public."
And quote them. Yeah.
Yep. ESB's new equipment allows us to be a lot more flexible and expeditionary in nature. We're able to use these new kits for multiple rapid TAC jumps for Roving Sands 19. Absolutely outstanding support across the board. The soldier who right now is busy putting comms over on Barden Field got an RCOM from their CG for the operation. The other thing that happened there was we put in an X-band kit, which was absolutely not able to come in the net. We were getting jammed bad by some of the 80A radars. Rolled out a second kit that was operated on KU into the Brigade TAC Hub at Fort Gordon, came right in. So in terms of cyber resilience, huge lesson learned. Number of reps, huge lesson learned. The second one, and I'm going to bring the soldier up here, Specialist Keaton, if you come up here and talk 27th Engineers and some of the things that you guys took away from that mission.
So with 27th Engineer Mission, we were able to really see these equipments being used in a kind of traditional FTX fashion out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The engineers' main objective out there was to rebuild a broken down flight area, and they were able to accomplish that. We definitely were able to provide them with adequate communications. Even at some point, they were leaning on us for our lower TI solutions as well. The really biggest takeaway I think we got from that was just the fact of the matter is that we really did have to find kind of where we fit in, because a lot of these units are still trying to find us where we fit in terms of upper TI, because a lot of these units haven't had it before. However, we definitely were a big advantage to them, because, like I said, they didn't have it before, and they were able to utilize it very, very well. And then we also worked on a airborne proof of concept out there as well. And they were able to jump in the kit, and we were able to bring in SIPR upper TI into their airborne commander's AO within 7 minutes.
Round of applause for Specialist Keaton. Great job. No. The next one, we don't have the soldier here, Warrior Strike. This was a forcible entry-like mission in Korea. And essentially, this team was 3 brand new soldiers just out of net. 2 weeks later, headed to Korea, loaded the Chinook, got touchdown. Using cellular, we were able to put in Centrix K. Here's what the infantry commander had to say. Oh, and the kid also puked in his Kevlar on the way out the door. So there was, sir, I don't think you had to sign a football on that one. But successful upper TI sent via Centrix K last night using the ESB-E team objective would allow them the opportunity to jump and conduct an additional repetition. I think this system has been incredible. Only hiccup, as you know, is lack of SAT time, but we're able to use cellular as backup. Please don't puke in our Chinook again. But that's 4 or 5 infantry battalion commander. But you know, that last piece of it, due to lack of SATCOM. So that's something that we've really been working hard and getting great support out of ForceCom and then across NetCom through the brigade headquarters again, is figuring out how to make some of those SAT airtime requests a little bit more flexible. These kits have given us a lot of opportunity to do that. The next one's first TSC. Which we're going to pull up Specialist Lampkin to tell you a little about his experience up there in Fort Campbell over a President's Day weekend.
So with first TSC, we were still a bit new to the equipment, but when we first got on ground, we had to set up, and our line of sight was a bit blocked by the trees that we had in the background. Luckily, there was a Connex right next to us, so we were like, you know what, the equipment's small enough, maybe we can just throw it on top of a Connex and see if we can reel in a good shot. And at first it was good, but since like our equipment was still fairly new, we still had a bit of issues. So we had to call back to our companies and be like, hey, we need another kit out here. They rolled out a kit, a couple hours, we came right in, we're good to go.
Round of applause for. I'll tell you that those guys got that kit in within 12 hours when they made that call on a Sunday. The only time we've seen soldiers move faster is when we had to move Bravo Company from Graf to Rome, Italy. 20 minutes maybe. But that was an incredible win for the organization. Across the bottom, and we're going to continue to drill through these so we can get to any questions and for follow-up slides. That bottom left is from Bold Quest in Finland. So a couple of big achievements there. That's a 20-plus nation test exercise, which we got to participate in. But it was also an opportunity for us to approximate a high north shot. These guys were in system days before anyone in the organization. PFC Johnson, second from the front there, was the guy that made that happen for us. The other two, the CTC rotations, again, a lot of success there, one of which they just the box with JRTC with the 82nd, and I think the 82nd G6 is here, so if you get a chance to see Colonel Brokoff, he can tell you more about that one. The other one was at NTC, and again, Specialist Stella Cruz is here. Those guys were here with the rotation back in April timeframe to include having the most confirmed kills of any other team in terms of not being the ones killed, but supporting the guys that got the kill. So big win there for us. And then the last two across the bottom with the centralized signal maintenance. This has been a game changer for us as well. It really, if anything else, it's allowed us to integrate our C&E and our NetOps more effectively than we ever had before. And more importantly, it's given us a chance to have external validation and a common side picture on what's actually happening in the organization. Sir, I don't know if you want to talk at all about how we're integrating the TAC Hub piece into that, but we believe that that's been a big game changer as well.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the TAC Hub. It was actually not really a part of the prototype, but the brigade itself actually has a TAC Hub, sits outside the brigade headquarters, and we're able to levy that piece of equipment in order to see all of our nodes across the brigade. So it's not just the 50th; it's the 63rd, it's the 67th, and it's the 51st out of JBLM. So with that capability, that allows me as a brigade commander to tell the corps commander or the corps separates that they're getting trained and ready forces, and I don't have to necessarily take Ron's word for it, or Trey's word for it, or any of the battalion commanders, because I can see that myself. So that capability is kind of new. That the TAC Hub is not in the TTSB normally, but we think going forward that's really going to be a game changer, especially as we start to talk about training corps, signal companies. The signal company, sys company underneath the corps. We can bring them in, or if a division or BCT needs a little airtime or whatever, we can possibly partner with them as part of the corps.
Good. Okay. All right. Thanks, gentlemen. All right. So next steps. So where we're at right now, we're currently what was in the ORD is phase 2. So we're in the execution phase. That closes out at the end of August, and once we complete that, then the collective team that makes up the ESB-E Council Colonels / GOSC will what we'll do on the PM side is we're going to collect all that data that we get from the test community, the lessons learned from the 35th and the 50th, as well as what the information that we gathered for our fielding teams, and we're going to turn all that into a kind of what we're doing on the ITN side if you were in that group this morning, right? So we're kind of going to do those trade-off discussions with the community, and from that we'll generate a list of recommendations, and then based off of how we did, how the pilot was executed to begin with, we'll go back up through Army senior leadership and get that blessed off on with the decision brief hopefully sometime in this fall, so that we can move out with the intent of fielding 3 ESBs within FY20 with the new kit, as well as maybe some of the other decisions that are being made by that. Right now we're scheduled to do 3 next year in FY20, and then 3 in FY21 as well. And then based off of that, we'll do a full and open from the PEO side for the out years beyond 21. And unless you gentlemen have anything else, I think we will. All right, we will open it up for questions. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they've got a microphone for you.
On the ESB conversions, is it going to be just Compo 1, or with Compo 2 and Compo 3 get it? Like, is it going to be balanced conversions, or is it going to be serial?
So I'm tracking 24. Does that cover all of them?
Yeah, if it's
Yeah.
24, yeah.
Yeah, so it covers all of them. Yeah. But
So I
don't-
think.
go ahead.
So I think the balance is going to have to come from a decision of Army senior leadership.
Right.
Obviously, ForceCom is going to have a huge part in that decision on who gets what when.
So I can tell you, even for 20, right? So we actually don't even know for 20 the units right now. So all that's part of that decision cycle.
Hello, sir. Robert Abbott, Army Audit. Colonel Imartino, hello, sir.
Hi.
We saw you last year. My question is this solution integrated with KMI, or will it render KMI irrelevant?
It's ComSec, right?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
General Umang, would you like to answer?
I don't know what. Yeah.
So I'm not sure what one has to do with the other. So KMI is a whole separate program and procedure for ComSec. We're in the process of morphing that from an equipment and education perspective in the school, but KMI will support what we're doing in the future force, ESB-E and beyond.
Cool.
You guys are welcome. Yeah. Thanks, sir. That's what we were going to say. You just beat us to it.
Does this complement JCSC in any way, or is it
So
built,
I think it's
built on it?
So I think it's the Army version of JCSC. If you want if you want to put those terms together. We like to call it more 50th like,
Right.
but it's the Army's it's
And
for now.
From a Marine Corps perspective, when will this training be completed so that the Marine Corps can use it?
And
Probably
funded.
2028.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
You don't have to search for questions for us.
Yeah.
Hey Ron, how you doing? Hey,
Sir.
yeah, I commanded JCSC when you guys were backfilling us in the mission you talked about earlier. So one of the limitations that the Army seemed to always have was the fact that it's not necessarily the equipment on the ground; it's the backside networks. And so I guess my question is, in supporting Ron and a battalion, what is the Army doing to work on the networks and what capabilities these guys can bring forward?
So I'll take a stab at this, and if Major General Pugh's in the audience, maybe he can help a little bit as well. But they are modernizing the RHNs and step sites in order to be able to reach get back into the reach back, and then of course with gate allows us to do a lot more than what we used to be able to do from a monitoring and net ops perspective. So that was when Ron was when he was talking about we specifically, the 50th specifically sent teams to different AORs to validate those landing sites. Is it perfect? No, not yet. But with all that information, that will help inform what we need to do for the landing sites within the different AORs.
All right. If you don't have any other questions, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Half hour.
Don't leave just yet. Got a couple thoughts for you, but first of all, I want to thank the panel. We tried to get Colonel Falk about 38 days ago, 2 days after he joined command, to come out here and present today, and the G3 called me back and said, no, he's not doing it. And then later on, C3T got involved, and I got a sneaking suspicion that it came through the back door of C3T. But we felt it was very important for you all to have this presentation today. It's an initiative that has a lot of interest. It's very important, and I sure appreciate the three of you coming up and speaking. It's certainly worth the time and effort for you to be here. They could certainly answer some questions after you're done. I'd like to just share a couple things with you. It's been a long day. It really has. And the only thing between me and a happy hour is me. So I'll finish up, but I want to talk to you a little bit about Thursday. We got a lot of things going on Wednesday, but Thursday, it's our program management day. We have 5 PEOs coming in, starting at 1300 and running till about 3:30. And then we have a panel on other transaction authorities and rapid acquisition. And Gary Martin, former C3T, kind of put this panel together. And I'm telling you right now, it's not something you're going to hear at another conference. He did it specifically because he never could get it at another conference or hear it at another conference. And then on Friday morning, and some of you are probably saying, I'm not going to be here Friday. That's okay. Friday morning, there's a session, and this is what it's called, Cybersecurity Maturity Certification Program Overview. Cybersecurity Maturity Certification Program Overview. That is a very, very important session for every one of you, government and industry, and especially government if you're in the contract writing business. This is a program that was developed by OSD. They started briefing it about a month and a half or so ago. In 2020, the government part of this contract, they'll be certified and they'll put up RFPs based on the certification that they have to be able to put the RFP together. They're going to standardize how these cyber programs are going to go forward. In 2021, not that far away, no certification, no contract for industry, or government for that matter. So if you can be here Friday morning, 8:30 to 9:30, to hear this opening salvo, you're going to get information that's going to be very important to you. Will it come around again? Yeah. If you come to CERTS here in January 14, 15, we're going to try and get the OSD lead to come in and talk about the program. But between now and then, it's 4 or 5 months where you could be getting the certification somehow. Okay. So I want to let you know about that. You probably hear from the main stage, but I know how important it is, and I want to throw it out there for you today just so you'd have a little bit of insight for it. Okay, with that, enjoy happy hour. Really appreciate your participation this week. We've got just a great program for the next 2.5 days, so go for it, and thank you very much.